In this video, I'll show you how to crochet this heart sweater. This sweater is very beginner friendly. I only used single crochet to make the whole sweater. So the heart pattern, the cuff, and the neckline, everything is just single crochet. The structure is also the simplest. We're gonna make 2 panels, one front, one back, and then 2 sleeves. So the sleeve and the back panel is just rectangles. The only decrease we need to do is the front panel because we need to make a neckline. And then we join the panels together, sew up the sleeves, and then do the neckline ribbing. The cuffs and the bottom ribbing will be worked with the panel. The yarn I used for this is 8 ply, so that's weight 3. And the yarn calls for a 4mm crochet hook, but I want to size up to 5mm. And that is because single crochets make the stitch quite tight and stiff, and if I use a larger hook, it will help soften the stitch a little bit so the sweater won't be that stiff. This sweater weighs 545 grams, so that's how much yarn I used, but that's for both colors. So say the pink color requires 550 grams. If you want to be safer, maybe 600 grams. Also, as you can see, my sleeves are quite narrow. If you want to make yours wider, then you would need more yarn and 1 to 2 balls of this color. By the way, you can adjust the sleeve. I will explain how to make this a bit wider in the sleeve section of the video. So we're going to begin from the ribbing and work our way up. We're going to first make a chain, and as you can see, the chain number is the thickness of the ribbing. The row count determines the width of the panel. So this is the graph that I drew according to the width of the panel, and as you can see, it has 97 columns. So that means I would have 97 stitches across for each panel. I'm going to begin with a slip knot. And then I'll insert my hook, make a chain, and as I said before, the chain number is this measurement. So if you want your ribbing to be thicker, you can just chain more here. So here I have a chain of 10. To begin row 1, I'm gonna chain 1, and in the second chain from the hook, I'm gonna work in back loop, but you can just work in this one if you want to, here. So if you're working here, you're gonna insert your hook, right, like that. But I'm gonna work in the back loop. And the reason is because when I join this edge with the other side together, it's gonna look better. So to work in the back loop, turn my chain, locate the second chain from the hook, and turn this chain, find the back loop, insert my hook, and then I'm gonna yarn over, pull it through this back loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 2. You can mark this stitch if you're a complete beginner. So you just place the stitch marker in the top 2 loops like this. And then in the second chain, I'm still gonna work in the back loop. If you worked in this loop, you're just gonna keep doing the same. Keep working in this loop. But because I'm working in the back loop, I'm gonna do the same thing here. So insert my hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. I'm gonna continue doing this. I've got my last back loop here. I should have 9 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that should be number 10. Insert my hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's row 1. To begin each row, you're going to chain 1. So row 2, chain 1 and turn. And that is the first stitch here. That's the chain 1, that's the first stitch. You're going to insert your hook. This time we're going to insert in the back loop like this. And then you work your single crochet stitch, which is the stitch we've been doing. And again, you can mark this stitch. And then from here, you work 1 single crochet in the back loop of each stitch. This stitch is marked. That means this is the last stitch we should work into. I should have 9 stitches now. So that's number 10. I'm going to insert my hook in the back loop and work the single crochet like that. And then you're just going to continue working row 2, this row, which is chain 1 and turn. From the first stitch, insert in the back loop and make a single crochet. And do that for each stitch. And again, that marks the last stitch. So you work a single crochet in it and then just repeat. So I just kept repeating that, and now I have 97 rows. To count your rows, you just look at the bumps. One bump is 2 rows. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. This measures about 24 inches, and this is gonna be about the width of the sweater when it's finished. When you finish the last stitch of row 97, chain 1. And next, we're gonna work stitches in this direction along the edge of the rows. I'm gonna work 1 single crochet for each single crochet row. There's no certain rules for where you're supposed to insert your hook, but this is just how I do it, and I found that it makes my work quite neat. Row 1, I'm gonna insert in this space here and work a single crochet. And then I'll mark this first stitch. And the second row, I'm gonna insert in this loop here and work a single crochet. So that was 2 stitches for 2 rows. And from here, you can just repeat those 2 steps because the edge is gonna look the same as the first 2 rows. But again, it's okay if you don't do exactly what I do. All you need to do is make sure you work 1 stitch for 1 row. The last one, I'll just insert in this. Okay, so now, counting from the very first stitch, which is marked, I should have 97 stitches because, again, I have 97 single crochet rows. And now I'm going to continue working the panel. I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work to begin the next row. From the very first stitch, I'm going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch, but this time I'm going to insert in both loops. And then I'm going to continue working like that. The marked stitch is the last stitch, so work the last single crochet in it. So that was row 2. To begin row 3, chain 1 and turn again. Work 1 single crochet in each stitch in both loops. So before the color work, I have 5 single crochet rows here. I've just started row 3. I'll see you at the beginning of row 6. After the first 5 rows, we're going to begin the heart pattern, which you can download through the link in the description. So we're going to begin from the bottom right corner, starting from row 1. If the numbers here, you're going to start reading from this direction. Each square represents 1 single crochet. So as you can see, we have 12 squares here. 13 is red, so that means we're going to change color, change from pink to red, and the color change happens at the last stitch, which is number 12, not at number 13, but 12. 10 and 11. Okay, Number 12 is pink as well. So I'm going to insert my hook in that stitch and pull up a loop. And then this stitch will be pink. And now you change color, you're going to grab the red yarn and just use it to finish this stitch. So yarn over and pull through. So now the top of the next stitch will be red, as you can see. Okay, so here we have one stitch in red, so the next stitch is red. And as you can see at the back, we have a red yarn and a pink yarn. I'm going to carry both of them along in my stitches. So next stitch is red. I'm going to insert my hook. And to carry the yarns, you just make sure they are on your hook like this. And then I'm going to use the red yarn, pull up a loop, and then the next stitch is pink, so I'm going to change color again. But as you can see, the hearts are separated, so I don't need to carry the red yarn all the way, carry the same red thread across the rows. I just need to drop the red yarn here and continue using it in the next row, so the thread is gonna go like this. To drop the yarn, you just bring it to the front like this, but you can do it before or after you finish this stitch. So this is before. If you want to do it after, because the next stitch is pink, I'm going to use pink to finish this stitch first. So you finish this stitch, and then you drop it. Drop the red yarns to the front. The working red yarn, you have to drop it, but the red tail, you can drop it to the front as well, or you can leave it at the back. But if you don't like to weave in ends like me, you should definitely drop it to the front. So the next stitch is number 15, and as you can see, 15 is pink. So from there, I can actually just continue working in the pink color. And the row 1 of the heart pattern, between each heart, there are 23 stitches in pink, 23. So I'm going to go ahead and make 23 stitches in pink. So that's number 22, that's 23. Here, change color again. So I insert my hook and pull up a loop. Now I need a new thread of red yarn, but I only have one ball of red. So what I do is I leave some length. It's better if you leave more than if you don't leave enough. And then I just use a hair tie to tie it together. Cut the yarn, and then I'll have a new thread of red yarn. Use the red yarn to finish the stitch. In the next stitch, pull up a loop. And then this time I'm going to drop it before I finish this stitch. Like I said before, you can do that as well. It's probably easier. So I drop it to the front, including the other tail. And then yarn over, finish this stitch. And then continue working stitches in pink. So I'm just going to continue doing that. 1 red, 23 pink, 1 red, 23 pink. I'm going to finish this row, and at row 2, I'll show you how to pick up the red color here after the first 10 stitches. So on the 11th stitch of row 2, I'm going to change color again, insert, pull up a loop, and the next stitch is red. So you're just going to pick up the red color from the back and then complete the stitch. Next stitch, red. When you insert your hook, make sure you carry the red color as well, this little one, and work 3 stitches in red. The second one, I carry the pink yarn and also the red tail, because like I said, I don't like to weave in ends. And the third red, I carry both of the yarns as well. Pull up a loop, and then I can drop the red color because the following stitches are pink. So I just drop it to the front like this. Make sure my yarns don't tangle. The red tail, I bring it to the front as well. And I can finish the stitch and continue working. So that's how you pick up and drop the red yarn in row 2. The other 3 hearts is done in the same way. So the following 4 rows are basically the same. I'm just adding 1 stitch on both sides each row. The red yarn tail, I just carry it along with the red working yarn until it's hidden in the work. When the pink yarn is not the working yarn, I pretty much carried it the whole time. I just noticed I've been using the wrong graph, but that's okay because the first few rows are the same. So everything we've done is still correct. So for the first 6 rows, I have just been adding 2 more red stitches each row. Row 6, I have 11 stitches. And the pattern of row 7 is the same as row 6. And row 8, we begin to have a gap in the middle. So this is row 8. Row 8 is red from left to right. So on the 5th stitch, on this stitch, I change to pink. So I pull up a loop, drop red, and use the pink to finish the stitch. We still have 5 stitches, so I'm going to keep carrying the red yarn and pull up a loop, drop pink, pick up red, finish this stitch, and then 5 red stitches carrying pink. And then on the 5th stitch, we can drop this red yarn to the front. Change color, continue with pink. The next 2 rows are done in the same way. On row 10 here, don't forget to carry the red yarn from this stitch. So right here, next stitch is pink. When you insert your hook, make sure you carry the red yarn like this. Pull up a loop, and then change to red. And the rest is nothing special, we've done that. And then you do the same thing for the other 3 hearts. And when I finish the last red stitch, I just cut it, and later I weave it in the red stitches. And then the next row is just pink stitches, so you're not going to carry the red yarn at all. You're going to work in pink for another 10 rows, so from row 11 to row 20. And then you're going to work the next row of hearts, which is basically the same. The only difference of the second row is, as you can see, we have 3 hearts, but the first row has 4. So you're going to work all the way to row 40, and then you're going to repeat row 1 to 20 again. So that's row 1 to 20, which is here. And then after that, I worked another 20 rows. So together from this one, the row right after the color work is 30 rows. And then after that, you just chain 1 and cut this yarn, but make sure you leave some length because we need to use this to sew up the shoulder later. So you cut your yarn and then you pull through. So the front panel, we can use the back panel to mark out the neckline, and my neckline is gonna be something like this. Okay, so now I need to mark the neckline. I'm gonna leave about 17 stitches at the front. I left an odd number because I have an odd number of stitches, so I'll leave 17 stitches at the center. So that's the center 17 stitches. I'm going to place a marker in number 17 and in number 1. So 1 is marked, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 17 is marked. So I work my panels like this, work the shoulders. If I don't do any decrease, if I just work back and forth like this, no decrease, it will go straight up like that, right? But if I do some decrease, I would have fewer stitches every row here. I have 20 rows here because I need to work the same number of rows here so that my front panel would be the same height as the back panel. So 20 rows here. If I do one decrease every 2 rows, after 2 rows, this shoulder will be 1 stitch less. So 1 decrease, 2 rows, 20 rows, I will do 10 decrease. So this shoulder will be 10 stitches less. Here I have 40 stitches if you do the math. 97 stitches minus 17, 80, divided by 2, 40. So this shoulder will be 30 stitches like this. I've already marked it. I marked 30 stitches, and that stitch marker is after the 30 stitches. Here I'm beginning shoulder row 1. So I'm going to work my stitches all the way to 2 stitches before the stitch marker. And then I'm going to work a decrease over these 2 stitches. So in the next stitch, I'm going to pull up a loop and then pull up one more loop in the next stitch. 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. And to achieve decrease 1 stitch in 2 rows, the next row I'm just going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch. From the very first stitch, no decrease. So this is shoulder row 2. I'll finish this row and begin shoulder row 3. I'll see you at this end again. So row 3, I have 2 stitches left. I didn't mark it, but as you can see, that's 2 stitches. And then I'm going to do that decrease again. So pull up a loop here. And then in the last stitch, pull up one more loop. Yarn over, pull through 2. And row 4, work 1 single crochet in each stitch. So I'm just going to repeat these 2 rows. When I work in this direction towards the center of the panel, I decrease in the last 2 stitches. And when I work towards the shoulder, 1 single crochet in each stitch. And I'll continue working like this until I have 20 shoulder rows. Counting from here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 20 rows. And now I should have 30 stitches. Okay, then you just chain 1, always chain 1 to fasten off. Leave some length to sew the shoulders later again. I left about 2 meters. Okay, this side of the shoulder, I need to join my yarn from here because of the direction. The last row is worked in this direction, so the next row should be like that. So I'll attach my yarn in this stitch. That's number 1. And that's number 40. So I'll make a slip knot and insert my hook in the stitch after the marked stitch. And pull that loop through, chain 1. For this side of the shoulder, the decrease is worked at the beginning of the row because that's what we did for row 1 on this side. So at the beginning, I'm going to make a decrease. Starting from the very same stitch, pull up a loop, next stitch, one more loop, and decrease. Work your stitches all the way to the end of the row, 1 single crochet in each stitch, and then work your way back for row 2. So row 2, I'm working my way back, but even if I'm working towards the center, this is the row after the decrease row. So I'm just going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch. Chain 1 and turn. And row 3, we do the decrease again. So we'll start with a decrease in the first 2 stitches. And then 1 single crochet in each stitch. Row 4, 1 single crochet on each stitch. working towards the center, and then you just repeat these 2 rows. Decrease at the beginning, and then on the way back, 1 single crochet in each stitch. And again, I'm going to work 20 rows for this side of the shoulder. And then again, chain 1 and cut the yarn. I have the tail from the back panel to sew up the shoulders, so I don't have to leave a long tail here. So this is the front panel. To make the sleeve, I also started from the ribbing, which is the cuff. So I made the cuff in the same way. I worked 23 rows. And for the sleeve, as you can see, this is wider than the cuff. So this number will be twice the row count. So I have 23 rows here. That means I would have 46 stitches here. The chart I drew has 46 stitches as well. If you want your sleeves to be wider, you just add more columns on each side. Say if you want to add 4 stitches, you can just add 2 on the left and 2 on the right. And then your sleeve would be 4 stitches wider in circumference. So if you fold it like this, your sleeve would actually be 2 stitches wider, this way. And if you have 50 stitches here, that means you should have 25 rows here. Okay, so I made 23 rows, like I said before, and then I'm gonna work chain 1 and work 1 row just like before. So 1 single crochet for each row, and that means I should have 23 stitches when I'm finished. Now, just like the panel, we have 5 rows here before we do the color work. This is wider than this, and that's because I did some increase here in the first 5 rows. So that was row 1, 1 single crochet in each stitch. Row 2, we need to do increase, chain 1 and turn. This row, we're gonna do 1 single crochet in one stitch, and then 2 single crochets in the next. So in the first stitch, work 1 single crochet, and you can mark this stitch. In the next single crochet, I'm going to work 2 single crochets. So that's 1. Insert your hook in the very same stitch and work 1 more single crochet. And then you're just going to continue repeating this 1, 2, 1, 2, work like that all the way to the end. And because I have an odd number of stitches, I should be ending this row with 1, 2, 1. Chain 1 and turn. The next row, I'm just going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch, and that's row 3. And row 4, we're going to increase again. Row 4, we're going to begin with the increase, so that's 2 single crochets in the very first stitch. And then 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single in the next stitch. So that's 2, 1, 1. From here, I'm just going to repeat this 2, 1, 1. And then in the last stitch, I should work 2 single crochets, and that's row 4. Row 4, the stitch number should double this row count already. So I should have 46 stitches now. And row 5, 1 single crochet in each stitch. And then row 6, you would begin your color work. Row 6 is the first row of the color work. So we're going to begin from here and work the hearts. And if you add more stitches here, don't forget to include those stitches as well. So for the sleeve, I worked this pattern 1 time to row 40, which is here, and then I restarted the pattern from row 1 and worked to row 22. So just before the next color work. When you finish the sleeve, leave some length because we're going to sew it up like this. So you need to have enough for this. So now that we have the front panel and the back panel, we're going to join them at the shoulders like this. You can choose either side to be the wrong side. I'm just gonna choose the side that has the most yarn tails. Actually, you might want to use the side with the yarn tail to join this side, because we need this yarn to sew off the seam, and this shoulder, we have this for it. So that's what you might want to do, but I really like this side to be the right side, so I'm gonna flip it. So this side, I don't have a tail to use, but I'll show you how to attach the yarn later. So now I have the right side facing. I need to do this from the wrong side. And I'll choose the longer tail to do this. Insert my hook in the first stitch. And pull this yarn through. Chain 1. And from the next stitch, I'm just gonna insert in both stitches. The second one on this side as well. Pull up a loop and slip stitch. And that's it. In the next stitches, insert your hook and slip stitch. Continue doing this. When you finish your last stitch, chain 1 and pull through. So on the other shoulder, you need to attach the yarn, and we're still doing this from the wrong side. Make a slip knot, insert in the first stitches, and pull the slip knot through, chain 1. And then from here, we just do the same thing. In the next stitches, insert hook and slip stitch. So after we finish the shoulders, we're going to attach the sleeves. And again, we're doing this from the wrong side, so I'm choosing a side as the wrong side. That's obviously going to be the right side, and that's the wrong side. So attach it like this. So I'm going to open up the shoulder and sew it on like this. So I need to line up the center of this row to the shoulder seam. Because I have 26 stitches, I have 2 center stitches like that. And then I'm just gonna line this up and then pin out where my underarm is gonna be, which is this point. So I'm gonna put a stitch marker here, and then I'm gonna see how many rows is this. So from the shoulder, I know that's 20 rows, and that's the next one. So 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 28 rows. I'll do the same on the other side, and I'll make sure I have 28 rows here as well. And now what I need to do is just join them together. I'm gonna do it from this side. The sleeve is facing me because the tail is here. So what I'll do is basically the same. I'm still gonna make slip stitches, but the only difference is this side is not stitches. I'm gonna pin the center together, and then I'll line this up and then pin the center of this. And then I'll just do what I did before. Insert my hook in this loop and insert in row 28, which is this one. Pull yarn through, and from here I'll just work slip stitches. But like I said, the other side is not stitches, so So this might take you a few tries to get the stitches nice and neat. So after this, fold the sweater at the shoulder. We still have this to join. And since they're connected, I'm going to start from one end, work all the way here, and then down to the bottom ribbing. This yarn, I can just cut it. I'm gonna attach my yarn here in the first stitch. We've done this before. And then from there, I'll slip stitch, inserting in both loops of both stitches. 1, 2. And for this seam, you need to make sure you line them up together. So each row is lined up like this. So you're going to do that all the way to the underarm, and then you turn like that and continue working this edge to the bottom. And if you wanted to split at the bottom here, you can just stop here right before the ribbing. Okay, and then when you turn it to the right side, it looks like this. And then next you should attach the other sleeve, but I'm going to do that later. I'm going to show you how to do the neckline first. For the neck, we need to begin from the center back, which is this one. So I'll attach my yarn, and then from here I'll just work one single crochet in each stitch. Around the corner, I'm going to make a single crochet 2 together. It's the same stitch we used to decrease for the neckline. Pull up one more loop here at the seam, yarn over, pull through all. And then for this edge, we work one single crochet for each single crochet row. And then here, this corner, I'm going to do a single crochet 2 together as well. When you make this single crochet 2 together, when you pull up 2 loops from 2 spaces, make sure the spaces are not too far apart, otherwise you would create a hole. It might take you a few tries to get it right, but that's normal. And then from the front edge, one single crochet in each stitch. And then on this side, I'll do the same. Single crochet 2 together, and then one single crochet for each row. Single crochet 2 together at this corner, and then one single crochet in each stitch all the way to the back, and then I'll slip stitch in this first stitch. So after the last single crochet, insert your hook in the first stitch to make a slip stitch. And from here you can do your ribbing. So for the ribbing, we're going to make a chain, and then I'm going to work back loop single crochets back and forth like that. So it's very similar to the cuff. And the only difference is every time I work single crochets back this way, I'm gonna attach the row to this edge. And I actually have a tutorial on this, crochet ribbing and cuffs, and that video is very detailed, so I won't spend too much time here. But every time I come back to this edge, I slip stitched 3 times instead of 2. So slip stitch 3 times is 1, 2, 3. So you come back, you slip stitch in the very next stitch, say it's this one, and then you slip stitch 1, 2, 3 times. You'll understand what I'm saying if you watch that video.